afternoon. My name is Donna Fiesel. I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television two different ways. You can find us on channel 182, and that's in North Alabama. You can also find us syndicated on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And we're going to have a great announcement coming up next week. So it's all because of you. It's because of the listeners and awesome guests. You know, I always say this every time this mayor's on the show. And this is the world's best mayor. His name is Chuck Abels. And I'm going to tell you why. You know, and election time's going to be coming up for some of you guys. In mayor races, you want a mayor who's actually going to look out after you and after the businesses. And that's why they're hearing over. It's not just me. I'm hearing it over and over again from folks who own businesses here in Geraldine, Alabama. Thank you.
I love Geraldine, obviously. And I, it's not a, big job, but and people ask, why do you want to do this? And my answer is always, my grandkids are the fifth generation of my family to go to school here. And my grandparents graduated here in 1925, almost 100 years ago. And just want to try to make things a little better if we can. And takes the work of the council and people in town and, a lot of people working together to get things done. And we've been able to get some things done and got a long list of things we want to get done.
Well, it's pretty awesome because I graduated from Geraldine back in 1977. I'm proud of it. I really am. And so I've seen so many things happen. We were living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Mother calls one day, and she said, we have a blinking light. we had Crossroads, like a four-way stop sign.
Yeah.
Back there at the hardware store.
Yeah.
And so I'm going whoop-de-doo because we had like every street and red light and all this kind of stuff. And then she calls a few months later and says, we now have a red light.
Yeah.
And then when Jax came in, she was thrilled. And so, the town is, it's quaint, it's clean. Yeah. And I want to talk to folks too. And I know you have some things you want to talk about. But a little bit later on the show, let's talk about why you would want to locate a business in this area. I mean, there's so many reasons for that. But we have actually national recognition.
We do. January 1st, man here in town, Hody Childers, passed away. He's 80 years old, lived here all of his life. Hard-working guy, farmer, worked at Lockheed Martin in Huntsville, drove back and forth every day, for many, many years. And then one day he walks into the pharmacy here and hands the pharmacist, Brooke Walker, a folded up piece of money and said, ask, do you ever have anybody that can't pay for their medicine? She said, it happens all the time. They said, well, here, here's some, just don't say where it came from. And don't tell me who it went to, just tell them it's a gift from God. And it was $100 bill. And she thought, man, that's great. This will help out. Well, months later, he came back by, handed her another folded up, another $100 bill, and did that the first of the month, every month for like 10 years. Wow. And, and nobody knew about it. I mean, his wife didn't know about it, his kids didn't know about it. And then a couple of months before he passed away, his health had declined, and he told his daughter about it, and he said, don't want any recognition. I'm just telling you so you can keep doing it. I want it to, I don't want the fund to run out.
So he set aside some money in a fund for her to keep doing this.
Yeah. And
that's good folks.
Yeah. And it's not an isolated incident. I mean, it was a big deal. It's a really big deal. But we have people, contact me all the time. If somebody needs some help, you let me know. And I know there's a lot that goes on that I don't know about, but got a guy in town that always helps out with Christmas for kids, and don't want my name called, don't want to know who gets it, just you take care of it. And but the thing about Mr. Childers, it really, I had a lady from the Washington Post call me, about it and some information, and did an article. She did an article in the Washington Post about it, and she asked me to send a couple of pictures. So I just made a couple of pictures with my phone, text them to her, and she said, "How do you want me to credit this? You know, Town of Geraldine or Mayor Chuck Abel?" I said, "Just put Town of Geraldine credit, you know." And well, it came out and it had my name on it, and I had a guy, this publisher of a newspaper, a friend of mine, made a post on Facebook and said, "Well, I never thought I'd see a picture in the Washington Post credited to Chuck Abel." But anyway, it gained national news real quick, and Steve Hartman from CBS New York came here to Geraldine and with a couple of his people and did a story about it on CBS, and it got international contact and talked about, and then I had a couple of people say, "Well, that's great. I just hate that he's passed away and it ended." And I said,
That's
"No,
how he wanted it.
yeah." I said, "But it hadn't ended, I promise you." And the pharmacist, had told me, "We're getting calls from all over the United States. People want to know how can we contribute to the Geraldine Hody Childers Fund," and people just mailing in checks, and
So even more and more and more people are
yeah,
going to get help
yeah.
because of that.
And she told me about a guy that called from Miami and want to know, how much money do you need? And she told him, "Right now, we're in good shape. We've got more money than we've ever had in this fund. Why don't you start something in your community like that?"
Grand idea, but because of one person's awesome idea
Yeah.
and what he did, no one knowing anything about it, now it's going to start happening all over the country.
And then she told me one day about a guy from Texas that had called and said, "Y'all ought to do something in your town, about him." And so one of our great council members, Larry Lingenfeld, wrote a proclamation, and so we have established April the 24th every year to be Hody Childers Day. That was his birthday. The reason we picked that. And let me just, it's a whole page, but I'll just hit some highlights.
Yeah, that's important.
And Larry does a great job on these things. It's all I can do to read it. I sure couldn't have written it. But he says, "Now all in our hearing are invited to support in your actions or in your heart the proclamation of April 24th as Mr. Hody Childers Day in Geraldine, and all places where people care in a meaningful way for the welfare of their fellow man." And talks about how, it's established fact that many people of modest means can't afford their medications and life sustaining medications in some cases. And it says approximately 1/4 of Americans are medication at risk due to inadequate personal finances. And then he talks about in a beautiful expression of the values of his upbringing and how he went about this, and a couple of other things. And then it says, "Now therefore be it proclaimed far and wide that hereafter April 24th be known as Hody Childers Day. May his selfless generosity and dear care for his fellow citizens be multiplied and continued forevermore." To paraphrase poet George Bernard Shaw, he said, "Some people see the world as it is and ask why. Mr. Childers created an innovative solution to a problem and asked why not. Let us all commemorate Mr. Hody Childers Day by some act of support for those less fortunate by paying forward our love for our community and others." And so, it's not going to be a big, trumpets and flags and all that. We just try to get the message out there. And of course, we like for people to help people every day, but this is just a way of reminding people, about what he's done. And, just been articles and articles written about it in different venues, newspapers all over the world have picked it up. And
Such a wonderful
written about it.
legacy.
Yeah,
And think about this. Think about all the people. And I know of people who've had to choose between medicine and food.
yeah,
Which is it going to be? And so I wonder how many people that he entertained that didn't have to make that decision.
right. And one of the stories that Steve Hartman did was about a young teenager that had gotten stung and needed an EpiPen, and you know it was going to be a big deal for them to spend $600 for that, and so Brooke saw the need there and provided that for them, and let the teenager get well, and didn't cost them, and and again, the deal is don't tell who it is and don't tell where it came from, and so there's many stories that we won't ever know here, but we do know that people are getting help from a resource from just a kind gentleman. He was always an encouragement to me. I'd see him at the post office and he'd ask how things were going in town. Of course, I was going to say he's known me all my life. He's a little bit older, but I and I've known him all of my life, and just a great family and like I say, hardworking guy. And
So what was his trade? What did he do for a living?
well, he worked at Lockheed Martin in Huntsville, which is it's like a aircraft place that builds aircraft and other things, and not sure exactly what he did there, but he always farmed as well. And I know he loved getting out in his tractor and seeing about his cows and farming, and I know he always made time for his grandkids and had them at his house and taught them a lot of good lessons that will carry on for a long time and maybe pass on to their kids and their kids, and it's been a great story. It's been an encouragement to me and to a lot of people in town and all over the world. I know, and again, I certainly don't want to take anything away from his generosity, but I just say, things like that happen a lot around here.
Absolutely, they do. Something, I've been taking Master Gardener classes, and the one thing I found out is I know nothing about gardening. So, and I'm gonna have to tell you, the smartest people I have met. I've told you about my granddad.
Yeah.
He was a big old farmer
Yeah.
there, and so he also worked with the USDA.
Right.
So that's how he retired from them. But the smartest people I know are farmers.
Yeah.
With no degree.
Right.
They have the common sense there, and I remember this is something funny my papa used to say. He would be listening to the weather, and he always kept an eye on the weather. And he'd say, listen to the weather, and he'd say, well, they say it's a 30% chance of rain. I always thought it was 50% because either it is or it ain't.
Yeah.
So, like that, and he would
A
look
lot of
at
wisdom
it
there.
and go, yeah, I think they're right. I think it is going to rain, and he could actually smell rain coming.
Yeah. I've known people like that. It's amazing, but the farmers pay attention to the weather because they've got to know what's going on with that.
Yeah, because your crops is either a failure or or a surplus.
I knew a guy that he kept a record of what the weather was every day. Written record. For like 40 years. And he had some good crops too.
In the almanac, the farmer's almanac.
Yeah.
He always had it. I know before you come here into the studio, this is where Phil works. Used to be the den of my grandparents, and there's an old phone there, still rotary dial.
Yeah.
You probably connect. They paid $2 a month on that forever, by the
Yeah.
way. Or $1.75 or something. I don't remember what it was. And we finally said, you don't have to be paying for that.
Yeah.
You've been paying for it for 50 years. Yeah. And so, anyway, he always had the phone book there and also his farmer's almanac.
Yeah.
It's always hanging up there.
And I know, I've talked to people that don't put much stock in a yearly weather forecast,
Uh-huh.
but I tell you what, there's a lot of accuracy there,
There is.
and you know,
Mm-hmm.
of course, I believe that was started by Ben Franklin a few years ago.
I think Mr. Franklin knew what he was doing
Yeah,
there. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and of course the technology I'm sure has evolved some
Mm-hmm.
since then, but there's there's a lot to be learned from farmers about weather, about
Fishing.
crops, about fishing.
You know
Yeah,
that farm?
absolutely.
It's right. I'm gonna tell you what. There have been days I've thought, I don't know anything about when. To me, any time's a good day for
Yeah.
fishing. It doesn't matter what the weather says. Because I just like to fish, and so our pond out here we have bass in it. By the way, y'all need to come out and just have a little fish fry sometime.
Okay.
And so yeah, I'm thinking. Oh, by the way, I know how to fillet them and all that kind
Okay.
of stuff. Yeah, that's a good
I know
way
how
to
to eat them.
it's a good way to get rid of mother. If mother's not here, I'll say, Mother, I got to fillet some fish. And she'll go, okay. And then she leaves. She doesn't want to be around when I'm doing that. But the neat thing about it is there is the Farmer's Almanac, and there's a website I go to, and they'll tell you the days.
Yeah.
And they've been right every single time. And even to the time of the day. It
Right.
could be, between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock at night or whatever. So those are some things I think that if we just stop and we listen, it's just in our minds.
Yeah.
You
And
just know.
And it comes from people paying attention and making records. And
I'm glad I listened to my grandparents.
Yeah.
I really
Me
am.
too.
I wish I'd listened more if I had to do over with. I wouldn't be rolling my eyes so much at them. But there's so many brilliant, smart things that we can all learn. You think, why does something really bad happens to the economy? I was around my grandmother enough to where, they saved lard.
Yeah.
And my Aunt Elizabeth, who's 101, she'll be 102 this coming year.
Okay.
So she's exciting too. And she still lives by herself. Doesn't want anybody to help her with anything. And she's something else, but she makes soap out of lard.
Okay.
Makes lye soap.
Yeah.
And so that's how we learned how to do it. And I'm one of those, I'm a magnet for when you get poison oak or what, I'm a magnet for it. And so one day she said, now Hazel, you need to let's give her some of that lye soap. And Mother said, lye soap? She's just a little girl, I'm gonna put lye soap on her. And it did, it worked. And it's
I wish you hadn't said that. My skin starts breaking out because I'm very susceptible.
Mine
to
too.
that. But
I can walk by it
Yeah.
and just get it, not even touch anything, and then Phil never gets it. So, but anyway, that's just some of those old remedies that we've learned. But I'm going to tell you what, if you're thinking about starting a business, I mean, let's talk about all the big cities we're close to, but we get to have the fun part of being in the country.
Absolutely. And, of course, big cities is kind of relevant to.
I'll visit them, but I don't want to live there.
Yeah. But I mean, you're talking about 50,000, you're talking about 1,000,000 or what? But right here, and I tell people, and I mean, this is not a commercial for Walmart, but I know that's a kind of a
They're
thing.
one of our sponsors.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's 5 super Walmarts that you can get to from here in less than 30 minutes.
Right. Uh-huh.
And when I lived in Birmingham, they were a lot closer, but it took me a lot longer to get there.
Right.
I mean,
Every red light, all
and
that.
and we're hour and a half at the most to Birmingham, and we're
Depends on who's driving.
yeah, and I said at the most, and I mean it takes me about an hour.
Yeah, well, I'll not tell you how long it takes me.
But an hour to Huntsville, and about an hour to Chattanooga, and a couple of hours to Atlanta. If you want to go there.
I don't know why you would, but
yeah.
say the Braves.
Yeah, that'd be good. But right here, I mean, we've got a Dollar General Market, we've got a Dollar Tree, Family Dollar store, we've got Jack's and Pizza Hut and Subway and several local restaurants. James Barbecue and Tickle Pink, and I want to just give a plug to those 2 in particular. We had our town egg hunt Saturday, and we sent out letters to the businesses, and Tickle Pink and James Barbecue were both real good to help us with that, along with some other businesses as well. Not wanting you to rush out and honor this sponsor, but our Geraldine Funeral Home also helped us out with some things. Some of them brought candy and prizes and stuff by. Some just gave us money, and of course, I got to talk about Donna Johnson, our clerk.
Oh, you better.
I mean,
That
she,
girl's got
she
it.
got everything ready for the egg hunt. I mean, I just had to show up.
That's an undertaking.
And she made flyers, mailed out letters, got gift bags. Every kid that came got a gift bag with a bag of chips and some candy and uh, uh, bubbles that you blow, and we had plenty of stuff like that for every kid. Had some prize eggs and prizes for who got the most eggs in 3 different age groups. We had a 0 to 3, 4 to 7, and 4 to 6, and then 7 to 10, and we had about a little over 100 kids that came out Saturday and fought the wind.
I was going to say.
I mean, the sun shining and all that, but and another big help was a place here in town called the Father's House. It's a rehab place for women with addictions, and Katina Blanchett is just a blessing that runs that. And I mean, she wouldn't mind me telling. I mean, she told me one time that she was cooking meth when she was 13, and the overall name is Addicts for Christ, but local place here, the Father's House, and she's got about 20 ladies there going through a 1-year rehab, and so I called her and said, and this wasn't the first time this had happened, but I said, I'm going to send a few of the ladies out to help us hide eggs, and of course they were glad to get out, and they came and helped and clean up and helped count eggs and help do whatever we wanted them to do, and they're just a blessing, and but they were fortunate to have them here. And recently, last 2 or 3 years,
I'm at that age too, man.
we signed into a collective lawsuit on some of the big pharmacy companies about the opioid addiction and the overprescribing and that kind of thing. And it was just something that any of the municipalities could sign into, no charge, not ever a charge. They said, if we get any money, we'll give you some of it.
Yeah.
And so we signed up, and they've settled a couple of the lawsuits, got several more going, and so we got a little bit of money. I mean, it's a little over $3,000 out of the first settlement, and but it obviously comes with stipulations about what you can do with it. Has to go toward opioid treatment, or something with the police department to help out. And so anyway, we just signed that check over to the Father's House. Council agreed to do that, and
that issue happens with all kinds of families, and whether well off or not. So that's it's in a lot of families.
Yeah. And
I'm proud to hear about that.
Yeah, and there'll be more money coming from that, and we just made a decision in council meeting, this particular settlement check, we'll give to them, and there's going to be some monthly checks coming, smaller amounts, and then there's still several other pharmaceutical companies that are involved in this that just hadn't settled yet. Some of them settle out of court, some of them will go to court, but obviously, it's always in the millions, but there's several people that get a portion of that.
Attorneys get a lot of it before you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to have to go into a commercial break, And so you guys hang in there, okay? We're going to be right back in just a few minutes. Half the show already?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We'll be right back. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Okay, we are back. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundant Television. We are syndicated. You can use Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire to find us there. We'll have another announcement coming out next week, and I'm really excited about that as well. So thank you so much for sticking with us and for watching the show and for telling others about us. We definitely appreciate that. We have our mayor of Geraldine, Alabama, Chuck Abels, with us right now, and we've been talking about some awesome things that have been happening in this area. And I wanted to mention this: if you are a business and you want low tax, you want probably about the lowest crime rate in the whole United States. This is just a good place to live and great farmland. If you'd like to have an acre, or if you want 50 acres, it's here.
Just had recently a family move here from Mississippi. They asked, can you help me find some land? They bought 115 acres.
See there?
And, I talk about this a lot about people moving here. I mean, they're in their 40s and just didn't know anybody here. Mm-hmm. Driving through, just, looking around, called and wanted to know, asked me a few questions and said, we've been up to there. We want to live at Geraldine. help us find some land and a job. I said, sure. And so they just picked up and moved. And she was a school teacher, but got a job right off. And, another family from Savannah, Georgia that's moved up here. And a young lady from Florida moved up here, bought some land, 20-something acres. And now her parents moved and her sister moved here, from out of state. And, and I've used this same term, but yesterday my preacher said something about people moving in. And he said, sometimes I think it may be the witness protection program. And I've said that before. It is not really.
Do you think you and I might have a little something to do with it? Because people are watching all over the country. And let me tell you about the Master Gardeners class.
Yeah.
I'm the only person in the entire class who's from Alabama.
Really?
Everybody they're from New York, and most of them are moving into this area in Mentone and Fort Payne and all these areas, and they can't believe the incredible low cost of living.
And I've said this before, if I didn't live here already and I came through here, I'd move here.
Well, and this is we were going around the class, and so this is through Auburn University. So we were going. War Eagle, I was already a War Eagle fan to begin with, now even more so. And so we were going around the room and introducing each other and what have you. And I'm the last one they came to because Brian Brown is actually holding the class, and Brian is on the show once a month.
Great.
So we're going around, and I'm looking at it, and they're saying New York, and they're going around the world. And so they get to me, Brian chose me last for a reason, I'm sure, so I could be the comic relief. And so I said, am I the only person from here? I mean, am I? And then Brian said, well, you lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for quite a while. So you're really kind of yeah, kind of. And so we welcome you. We want you to come in. Absolutely.
Almost all of our utilities are co-op owned, which means, there's a board of directors and we elect the board of directors.
They answer to us.
Yeah, they answer to us. But they, do things to keep the rates as low as possible. Understand, it's a business to make money and but they don't have to make millions and billions, so our electricity, gas companies, water, all that's just very low rates. People that lived here all their life may not realize that, but certainly compared to, anywhere else that I've ever seen or been, and I lived in Birmingham 20 years, and but the property tax rates, just all that is just very, very low. We pay like 11 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. See how that figures out. I'm not ashamed to mention that because I know that's a low rate. Geraldine, Alabama was the first place, with just a little small exception, the first place in Alabama to have gigabit speed internet a bunch of years ago through Farmers Telecommunications. Again, a co-op right here, we'll get telephone, internet, and just, people from right here, the people, and, they work for us, and it's just a great place.
Because of the internet here, I'm able to actually host a show and on a radio station here in Geraldine, Alabama, on my farm.
Yeah.
And probably wouldn't have done it had COVID not happened. I just really didn't think about it.
Right.
And then Phil said, I think we'll just build you a studio, which has become really a junk room as you look around since my studio. But there are a lot of people who are moving in. I know one of the ladies I'm having class with, her husband works out of the home. He's working for this huge company, and so he's set up there. They're on a farm. They bought 100 and something acres of land, and so it's just been amazing. She said, I can't believe. She said, we've always lived in a big city, and she said that he can work from the home. He's still making his salary, and we're on a farm, and a lower cost of living. They were up from close to Martha's Vineyard. Oh, that's where they're from.
Okay.
They're used to paying a lot more than we are.
Yeah. Well, the people I was talking about moved here from Savannah, Georgia. Lisa's lady's name, and she'd called, back, whenever it was, a couple of years ago, maybe several months at least, And first question was, I've seen a house up there and interested in buying it, just saw it on the internet, but need to know about your internet and how good it is. So I told her, gigabit speed, She said, well, my daughter and her husband would like to move too, but they both work from home and just wanted to make sure, that they could do that.
Bring it home.
And,
yeah.
And so they moved up here, and she was planning on, I think, quitting or retiring from her job working in Savannah, but she's actually been able to continue doing some work from here for people she was working for in Savannah, Georgia, and which is 350 miles away, but doesn't matter. And one of my son-in-laws travels a lot. He's an engineer, works for a company that does equipment for chicken processing plants, and it's DNF equipment in Crossville, 5 miles from here. They employ hundreds of people. Been in business long time, and just a great company to work for. But he has to travel a lot. But and up until COVID, when he was here, he had to go into the office over there. But when COVID came, they were running people out. So he got him a little tiny house and put out beside his house, made him an office out of it. And, he probably won't ever have to go back to the office, full time. Has to go back occasionally, with things. But he works right there out of his office and then travels. And it's just,
it's amazing if you can do that. I mean, think about the money you're saving on gasoline, mileage on your car,
right,
the wear and tear and all that stuff.
But, if you're in a situation where internet's not what you need, if you need to, get out and perform a service or something, plenty of people around here that'll work. It's amazing at how many places I go and keep seeing help wanted signs, and they're just not any around here. That doesn't mean you can't get a job. That just means that people will work and usually continue to work.
And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a town like that where people want to work.
Yeah. And, kids, a lot of the kids in school, or have their classes set up where maybe they can check out early to go to a job, or and got great schools here. I don't know what percentage, but a lot of the teachers and administration in our school grew up here, went to school here, care about the people, know their parents, and if a kid doesn't do right, they can deal with it.
They'll know about it when they get home. And that's the kind of town you're looking for. And a lot of our kids here are in the dual enrollment program, which is smart. I wish we'd had that back in my day.
Yeah.
I would have been all over that. So you can learn a trade, or if you want to go ahead and learn part of the degree when you're walking across the stage and you turn the little cap around and you graduate from high school and have a partial degree.
Yeah, and a great technical vocational school here in the county. It's 15 miles away, but the kids they bus them there during the day to take all kind of classes from bricklaying to welding to hair, fixing hair, cosmetology,
medical,
nursing,
it's all there.
And one of my grandsons that graduated almost a year ago now had, I think, 34 college credits maybe when he graduated, because he'd been taking dual enrollment from Northeast Community College and had done a lot of welding and at the tech school, but had taken classes up there. And just from out of nowhere, he finished high school and thought, I think I'm going to join the Army. And it just hadn't been in conversation. His older brother was in the Marines and said from the time he was in 10th grade, when I get out, I'm going into the Marines. But Blaine graduated and went into the Army, and with the 30-something credit hours, he was able to go in as an E2 instead of just a private.
Wow.
So it made his pay better and made, everything better for him. So, you know, and I expect at some point he'll continue his college. But, you know, going in the military is a great thing. But like I say, if you've got some college hours ahead of time, you know, it's a bonus going in the military. But it's just, you know, great place, great people. I always kind of get a kick out of telling about our population, though, because a lot of times when I'm out, you know, asking for a grant or, you know, just asking for money or, you know, different things at meetings, you know, and, you know, I mean, if it's a big meeting, you know, off somewhere, you know, and people telling where they're from, I'm from Geraldine, Alabama. From what? And, you know, and so what's your population? I said, well, you know, obviously you can look it up, you know, and it's out there. Our last census showed 910. And then I say, however, our school has 1,150 kids, and some of those kids have parents. You know, a lot of them do have parents that live here. So our community is, you know, several thousand around here in the area. I mean, within 15 miles, there's 35,000 people. You know, Fort Payne is our county seat here in DeKalb County, and a lot of opportunities there. It's really growing in Marshall County, just to the west. You know, 15 miles. I mean, they're booming. They're not just growing; they're booming.
And we're getting some of that feedback here. If you'd like to live here,
Yeah.
Or if maybe you have a business in Albertville and you think, well, I'm outgrowing boundaries right here. We got plenty of space to build.
We do. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, great youth sports program, great sports program in school.
Very competitive.
Yeah, our football team made it to the third round of the playoffs this past season. The boys basketball made it to the regional tournament, one game away from going to the Final Four state tournament, and with one senior on the team, and you know, I mean, I love sports, been involved in it some way or another all my life, and love the competition. But our coaches are great people, and they're teaching the kids how to be great people, not just to excel in athletics. And I mean, football Coach Michael Davis I mean, he has the kids out raking leaves for elderly people and cleaning up their yards, and weed eating, and yeah, and
you're giving back.
Yeah,
and he's teaching that, and that's a huge lesson to learn right there.
It is, but you know, again, just a great place, and you know, lots of ways to find out more. You know, our town hall number is 256-659-2122. I probably have to look at my card. We've got a new website, but townofgeraldineal.com. And
a good Facebook page too, because Donna keeps that up.
Yeah.
I mean, like anytime a storm is coming through, I always get that alert.
Yeah.
You know, and she tells people where they can go for safety and that kind of thing.
I'm sure she's posted some pictures from the egg hunt Saturday.
Yeah, I saw those.
And you know, again, good turnout, and our youth sports program has gotten off to a good start with baseball and softball. I know we've got more people involved this year than we did last year. It's good. We're, you know, in the process of building another youth field, primarily t-ball, but making it big enough for softball and baseball tournaments. And it's in the same general area as the other fields, so we were able to purchase some land from a neighbor there, so we wouldn't have to build new concession stand and restrooms and that kind of things right there. But we're doing improvement, about to build some new restrooms at the park, just additional near the high school softball field.
Clean park too, by the way.
And you know, of course, you know about our Donate a Tree project. You participated in that.
For grandparents.
Wow, it's been 2010. I was going to say about 10 years ago, but it was 2010. We had a tornado that came through and tore a park up pretty much. And we came up with a program called Designate a Tree. And for $100, we'd plant a tree, put a plaque up with someone's name on it in memory of someone, in honor of someone. And we've had over 130 of those over the years, still doing it. Jamie, our guy that mows, will know when you're going to quit planting trees up here. But it's around a walking track that's it's about 3/8 of a mile around the walking track. It's lighted, stays open all the time. A lot of people use it at night, especially in the summertime. We put new lights up there. We've put new lights on the high school baseball and softball fields. Wasn't $280,000 to do that, but just keeping things up to date, making things better, and but I'm always open for questions. How can we do things? What do we need to do? I can't remember if I've told Bill King that we marked one of our tennis courts off for pickleball, because I know he's a pickleball player.
You talking about Brother Billy Bob Bohannon?
That's the one. Yep. From right here on Sand Mountain, and
Right here.
he's kind of wound up down close to Auburn, but I'm not,
Every
not too
time he's
bad.
around, you're always going to see Willie Nelson is always going to make his appearance, and singing On the Road Again. All these things. He brings all these. He has some different personalities. You notice that?
I've noticed that, and just to give you a little idea, I mean, he has a guitar made from a toilet seat. I mean,
He makes his thing.
he doesn't live here now.
He ain't from here.
But he's from close. We'll claim
We
him.
claim him.
Yeah.
We claim him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he has been to our picnic in the park a couple of times, and which will be coming up in June. Not that long. We've got a good lineup for that. Wildwood, kind of a local group that had been together for a long time, split up, gotten back together, and real popular in the area. And then another local group called Average Joe's. Philip Dooley plays in that. That has Frothy Dog coffee here in Geraldine. They've got an app just like that other place that sells coffee. But you look up Frothy Dog, and they've got sandwiches and all kind of specialty coffees and lattes and things like that. And just great people from right here that, again, they helped us out a lot with the egg hunt, brought some baskets and, for the kids and for the big prizes and that kind of thing. And
And we have a manufacturing company just right up the road from us as well. And
We
they basically do business all over the world.
they do, absolutely. They employ, depending on the time of the season, 80 to 100 people. And there's welders and fabricators. And but they make a lot of equipment for the chicken processing plants and chicken houses and things like that. And again, just great people, that help out with the community and with things. And I saw the logo pop up there a while ago for Dollar General. We've had a Dollar General, of course, for a long time. A couple of years ago, they remodeled it, made it into Dollar General Market, which added fresh meat, fresh vegetables, and lots of other items like that. And
That's really handy, by the way.
And
And they're open later at night.
Right,
So that helps. People
Yeah.
like us who work late.
I mean, they're open always till 10, and during the summer, usually till 11. And, I mentioned our population, 910. And so, we've got a Dollar General Market. They just broke ground for another Dollar General, right? I mean, a mile and a half away from the other one, right here within our city limits. And, but I know that our Dollar General here is, I think it's the top one in the region. Of course, that's because of the manager, Angie.
Angie Bishop's awesome lady.
She is. but
Her husband, Clint, they're really good folks.
they're great folks and do a good job there, and we appreciate them, and all our businesses, our hardware stores in the process of expanding and add appliances, and even we'll have a little cafe thing there, and so things are growing. So be a good time to check in and get on board. We got some things going on, and good things, and
My granddad owned a restaurant here back a long time ago. I think it was in the 1940s.
didn't know that. That was just barely before my time, but
Yeah, he did. I've heard him talk about it. And so it was a hard business to be in back during the day.
Oh yeah.
That's where he got the idea. Before I graduated from high school, he said, whatever you do, before you go to college, you want to work at a hamburger joint, you be the best hamburger flipper they ever had.
There you
He
go.
said, whatever your job is, he said, you can't start at the top now. You got to get some experience. You got to work at the bottom and move yourself up, which is what he did, basically. And so every time I think of a hamburger play, I think of him. You be the best hamburger flipper they ever had.
And I'll just, we've got obviously a lot of good businesses, and I don't have ties to any of them, but another one just came to mind is Sean Rogers Electrical. And if you're looking for a job as an electrician, Sean's always got work for you to do. He employs about 10 or 12 people, and I mean he's got a crew that's wiring houses in some new housing complexes in Huntsville, and I mean just
they're strict on qualifications.
Oh, they are.
So if he has a job there, he's got to be good.
I mean, a few years ago, he wired over $200 general stores in 1 year, but he traveled, around. Some of it was in Georgia and some other states, but just a great guy, and but he'll train people. He just wants somebody that'll work. He can teach them what to do. He's a third or fourth generation electrician.
That's what he's doing.
And but real conscientious, and he gets on to me if he sees a plug in the park with a cover missing or something,
He knows all the safety issues that could even possibly happen.
Yeah,
like one in a million.
And I appreciate people. That's what I want people to do. People say, "Do you know so and so road's got a big hole in it?" And I said, "No, I hadn't been on that road, but that's how things get fixed. Let us know, or that's how things get done." I wasn't planning on marking one of the tennis courts off for pickleball, and had somebody call and say, "Hey, we kind of picking up on this and like to do that." So we got it done, and can't do everything that everybody wants when they want it done, but we're always, we spend money paving roads every year in town and try to keep them up to date real good. It's a lot less expensive to keep them good than it is to repair them when they get real bad.
I'm going to ask a question.
Okay,
so we have a lot of teenagers here.
Yeah.
And teenagers like to throw stuff out the windows. How is Geraldine such a clean area with all the teenagers we have here?
Well, some of it's from having good kids with good parents.
Parents and grandparents are going to get you if you don't.
Some of it's our maintenance guy, Jamie Brown. We got one guy. How
does he do all this?
This is hard to believe. He does all the mowing at the park, the roadsides. He does all the maintenance on the police cars, which we've kind of got something figured out where he doesn't have to do much of that. We buy new police cars every year, all new police cars every year, which, we've got 5. We've got one that we got through a grant that says you have to keep it till it's no good anymore. But
till the doors start falling off.
That's actually, technically it's till it's worth less than $5,000.
Oh, yeah.
And the others, the other 4, and the chief drives that one, but the other 4 they're out on the road all the time. We buy new ones every year, and this year when we bought 2023 Tahoes and got rid of our 2022 Tahoes, 4 of those, and we can switch the lights and all the radios and stuff out. And when we finished, after we sold those and bought new ones, we had made $12,000 above what we'd paid for this year.
That's smart management right there.
And you know, and the only maintenance we have on the ones, you know, from years, changing the oil basically. And you know, even, you know, we can get, most of the time we get a year out of the tires that come on them, and you know, a set of tires for police cars easily $1,000. And then, you know, keep them more than a year, you're gonna have to put brakes on them, because I mean, you know, they go fast sometimes and have to stop fast sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just the way it works.
Part of the deal there.
But you know, but really, I mean, we sold the ones we had and got $12,000 more than what we paid for the new ones. And so, you know, I mean, we've got a full staff of police officers, but you know, and we've got, most of them have been here quite a while. But again, if that's something you're looking to do, I mean, you know, there's possibilities around close, and you know, I mean, everybody doesn't treat the police officers as well as we do.
We treat them really nice. When we see them out eating, we like, you know.
Yeah.
And this is another thing that, you know, we actually appreciate our police officers. And we'll walk up to anyone in the military or anyone who's with any kind of law enforcement. And we always say, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. That happens in this town.
It does. And even, you know, when they're not on the clock, I mean, they go to the ball games, and they came to the egg hunt, some of them, and you know, just do things, you know, I mean, they help people change tires, and I mean, just whatever it takes, just being good citizens like the rest of us.
We've got about 1:20 left of
Okay.
this segment. A minute
Wow.
times flies by. I wanted to also mention Catherine. Catherine is definitely the woman behind the man. And is she still teaching?
She is. Taught 25 years at Fort Payne, just a 20-mile drive, and retired 9 years ago. And
She's a little like Phil. Phil has retired 3 times.
well, she had adjusted to that pretty well. High school English teacher, and had taught 5 years when we were in Birmingham, but she kind of got adjusted to that and enjoying, you know, having the freedom and doing things. And then right before Christmas, our high school English teacher here resigned, and from the situation, and so they were looking for somebody to fill in for a semester, and she raised her hand. She said,
and you're
you know,
going, put your hand down.
said, you know, our grandson Ethan's in 10th grade, and I want to make sure he has a good English teacher. And so, I mean, I can't believe how much she's enjoying it, really. The only thing, you know, she says, wish I hadn't thrown away my test and my notes and all that, you know. But she enjoyed spring break last week, too. But
well, Mayor, thank you so much for being on the show.
thanks.
It's always so much fun.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
And thank you for watching.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Get in contact with us.
A phone number again?
256-659-2122. Call my cell phone, 256-996-3388.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.